Worried about this whole conceptualization. And I found out in the consumer price index in India, the consumption share is 40% food and 60% non-food, which means the per capita income, per capita consumption that you take. His calculation comes back with lower calorie, that we come to 57%, food comes to 57%, that means you're going down. It's worse. This is an amazing thing, where the countries, actually the food component should go down. It should go from 40. In developed countries, in Germany, it is only 18%. In Scandinavian countries, only 10%. Here, we were in per capita, our aspiration should be to increase, and we are now making the food component go high so far as the ratio of what his calculations show. So my point is that is totally a wrong concept. So when we build the ratio of wage, we took an average, which is what developing countries, I'll just finish, is 50-50. The last point which I want to say that again, the notion of a wage is always determined by way of how much does a family, and I would go back still it is a family wage, how many will be the earner-dependent ratio. And generally, and this is where I again feel that, whole of the wage concept, including the recent of anchor, I have been reading this very well. As if the feminist movement did not happen in the world, as if the women movements have not gone into the world. You women work into, everyone knows, if a woman in the household has moved from a domestic side to the work side, the domestic work doesn't vanish. It doesn't vanish, it existed there. So we really debated this very extensively, and we came to a conclusion, so long the family is a unit, it doesn't matter whether it is a woman who's working or not working. The notion of a one earner, three consumption dependency, one earner, two dependent ratio has to be there. Because someone is going to do the work. That means I became a living wage earner, but the housework or the person who's working, the domestic worker actually will not get the living wage, because I'll not be able to pay to them. So the concept of that we discarded with this idea that we have to reduce, if the woman's participation increases into the labor market, then the ratio of the dependent earner ratio has to be changed. This is what existing even today, everywhere, even in the developed countries. It's so shocking. So what my point is, like as you evolve this concept, you actually incorporate this concept in the very idea of a wage concept, start bargaining on that. So this is what our wage concept is, and there is a very powerful alliance now. I want to end. I don't want to get into that. I do want to say this is only a concept, but our bargaining is with whom? We found out, and this is where Saptaki, I thought he would elaborate more on it, and I don't want to have time to elaborate on it, but essentially the global supply chain is the small employers here, or the domestic employers, actually do not have I don't want to get into detail, I have full costing studies of this done, that it is impossible for them, they don't have the paying capacity to give living wage. So the responsibility has to be the brands which make the most profit. I'm shocked about it again. I'm going to give you a shocking figure. When a shirt goes from here to Germany, because it's sitting here, sorry. When it goes to Germany, the German government can put 20% tax on it. That means I produce it at minimum wage, less than minimum wage. I cannot put a custom tax on that thing. But Germany can put 20% tax on that, which will go to the social security of the German workers. You see, because they have high taxation, so they can produce a good social service. Huh?
Except for pregnancy. Just saying.
Yeah, so the reality is that actually our wage component and our whole, what is called the FOB price is so reduced that we cannot actually afford a thing. So the question is that how do we bargain with the brands? And that is a new idea of a global supply chain. If you want to really build up a bargaining concept, then it has to be bargaining with the brands, bargaining with the multinationals. I don't want to get into a debate, but the Asia Floor Wage is it's a transnational local unions alliance of garment workers, plus, and I don't want to get into that concept here, a social alliance to support that concept. Because I do believe that you cannot build up a transnational alliance without a social alliance also part of that, and not particularly when 80% of the women workers or the garment workers are women workers. So this is the broad framework in which some of the concepts of wage can be understood in a transnational context, And in order to really understand the two important parts that is happening, that if you really take the question of global production network becoming a dominant part, and if you want to use the very important concept that has come up from the idea of what the women's movement and feminist movement has said, that they be incorporated and made into a part of your own understanding. Thank you.